I've made a few reviews in the past, and I'll probably make more reviews in the future, and I've also talked about critics in one of my videos, which led me to want to make this video. Critique is a subject with a lot of gray areas, simply because of how broad a subject it is, so it's very easy to be a bad critic. To help myself going forward, and anyone who cares to watch this video, I've assembled a short list of tips to bear in mind if you're going to critique something. Number 1 is the most important. Care about what you critique. You may have noticed a difference between audience and critic scores on Rotten Tomatoes. The difference is that the audience rating reflects what the target audience thinks about it, whereas professional critics watch things because it's their job and they have to. If something doesn't appeal to you, you won't be able to engage as deeply with it as the people it does appeal to, and you'll miss or misunderstand a lot of the things that make it appeal to the target audience. Moreover, if you aren't the target audience, your opinion doesn't really matter because it isn't made for you. To offer valuable criticism, you need to understand what makes something good as it is so you can help it improve it being that. If you don't, you'll only criticize it for being something you don't enjoy, and that just isn't productive for anyone. 2. Offer suggestions for how it could be made better. Saying, "This is boring," does nothing. Explain why it's boring, then what you think could be done to make it less boring. If you can't explain why you think what you do and offer decent suggestions, will your criticism be helpful? Probably not. Being constructive is the difference between a critic and a heckler, and you don't want to be a heckler because hecklers are assholes. 3. Acknowledge the artist's intention in differing creative tastes. What's good is subjective, and creative tastes are subjective. When Mr. Tomatoes is told to go watch Horns, they may say, "Well, Daniel Radcliffe is good, these special effects are nice, but the tone is inconsistent and the plot is silly, so it's a 5 out of 10. Or you could get this deeply profound take from top critic Krish Nashtaway, wherever the hell you say that. But for me, I enjoy fairy tales, and this is meant to be a modern fairy tale, and I also enjoy black comedy, and you guessed it, this is a black comedy. A lot of the criticisms leveled at this film can be rooted in it being those two things. The story is about a guy who's widely believed to have murdered his girlfriend, and then he grows horns that cause people to lose their inhibitions around him, and then he uses those powers to go find the real killer. It isn't some misunderstood masterpiece or anything, but I think it's a really interesting exploration of fairy tale conventions in a modern setting. The doomed true lover story may be cliche, but it's also classical and timeless, and I find it to be a truly tragic story in this film. The killer is disgusting and twisted, but I also find him pitiful and understandable, and the believability of his character makes him all the more horrifying. And then there's both comedy and horror in seeing people freely admit what they think and want. The artists behind the movie had a very specific vision they were going for, and it was very unconventional by the standards of other films in the genre. Therefore, people who went into the film expecting it to be just another horror or a black comedy walk away thinking it's weird and dumb. For general audiences, fine, fair enough. But if you're going to be a critic, you need to be a step above the general audience and kind of, put thought into your criticism. 4. Don't claim to be an authority, acknowledge subjectivity. Your opinion isn't the same as critique. You need to be able to acknowledge the artist's intention and offer criticisms based on that, which is pretty much what I just said. And you need to acknowledge when you aren't fit to criticize something and can only offer an opinion. I heard good things about Kill la Kill, and I tried to give it a shot. I got as far as when Ryuko got her magic shirt thing and it transformed into whatever this is, and then I said, screw this, and stopped watching. I'd entirely dismissed it as just another anime that exists to show ass and titties to the viewer, and I just really hate that shit. Up until like a week ago, when I saw this video about how Kill la Kill turns sexualization and objectification on its head, and uses clothes, nudity, and sexualization as a way of commenting on power. I only watched the first few minutes of it because I really just am not interested, and I never did watch Kill la Kill, so I could be missing something, and for all I know, that video was nothing but cope. But the reason I mention this is that I have my opinions on Kill la Kill, but they're from someone who only dabbles in anime and has a fundamental distaste for that. It would be wrong for me to try and critique a show like that. My opinions of it don't matter. because it isn't made for someone with my sensibilities. If the artist wanted to tell a story about power relative to sexuality and fashion using magic clothes, how else would they do that without sexualizing the characters? Evidently, given the show has a cult following, they must have done a good job and struck a chord with people. I'm just not one of them. I still think it looks really dumb, but who am I to tell people it is? 5. Judge the art separately from the artist, and vice versa. If you don't engage with someone's art because you don't like them as a person, that's your right. I refuse to listen to Hole because Courtney Love was an emotionally abusive junkie skank, and even if she didn't murder Kurt Cobain, she still killed him by being a shit influence and shit wife. But that's just my opinion, and that doesn't mean her music was bad. Mark Hamill and Ron Perlman, neither of them shut the fuck up, but they're both really great actors. And even if you think J.K. Rowling is a deluded Twitterist with some questionable views, Harry Potter is still a really good series, and her artistry is undeniable. So you should judge them separately. Just like how J.K. Rowling should keep her personal views away from her identity as a writer. Although, considering how much she's given in charitable donations as a writer, I suppose she's earned the right to be vocal about her activism because she actually backs it up with action, unlike most people. Anyway, if you feel the need to make some response to someone spewing their opinions or politics, you're just going to be doing the same thing, like I just did, and the people who agree with the person you're talking to will look at you the same way you look at the person you're complaining about. If you go after the person whose work you're reviewing because you don't like them as an individual, it makes it seem like a clout-chasing drama whore, it undermines your argument, and it just makes you seem dumb. Ironically, in making this very point in one of my videos, I committed the same sin in making my point. So yeah, that's embarrassing. Live and learn, I guess. And yeah, you're right. I did sound like a complete meat rider, but come on, he's handsome. If you need to resort to going after someone's character to make your take seem better than theirs, maybe your take isn't actually better. Otherwise, your ideas could stand on their merits and not on favorable comparisons. 6. Be biased, but be frank about your biases. There's no such thing as an unbiased source. Everyone has biases, and claiming you don't makes you a liar and a swine-like bastard. So be honest about your biases, preferences, tastes, and where you're coming from, whatever. The other part of being a good critic is the review part of it. Being upfront about your opinions allows people to judge whether or not your takes are relevant to them, so you can develop an audience of people who will benefit from your criticism or your input on what media they might or might not enjoy. It will also show people you're trustworthy and have integrity. So yeah, Wubzy's top tips. I'm gonna try and hold myself to these standards, and if anyone out there regularly watches me, I'd ask you to hold me to them too. I don't have an outro or any real conclusion, so this rambling serves as that. Like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you enjoy my other stuff as well, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.